Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Pope Francis has arrived in Iraq for the country's first ever papal visit and his first international trip since the start of the coronavirus. COVID and security fears have made this his riskiest visit yet, but the 84-year-old insisted he was duty-bound. He will try to reassure the dwindling Christian community and foster interreligious dialogue, meeting Iraq's most revered Shia Muslim cleric. The Pope will also celebrate Mass at a stadium in Erbil in the north. About 10,000 Iraqi security forces personnel are being deployed to protect the Pope, while round-the-clock curfews are also being imposed to limit the spread of COVID-19. China's top lawmaking body has unveiled plans to ensure only patriots can govern Hong Kong as Beijing tightens its grip on the city with changes to the electoral system. Premier Li Keqiang, addressing the National People's Congress, warned the world not to interfere. The move follows the imposition of a tough new security law last year. Critics say Beijing is crushing dissent and removing the one country, two system agreement it made with the UK about Hong Kong. Under the agreement, the former British colony was allowed to continue with its own legal system and have rights including free speech. Australia has asked the European Commission to review a decision by Italy to block a shipment of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine.
In Italy, people are dying at the rate of 300 a day.
The Italian government's decision to block an export of the vaccine affects 250,000 doses produced at a facility in Italy. The European Union allows its members to block exports if the company providing the vaccines has failed to meet its obligations. AstraZeneca is on track to provide only 40% of the agreed supply to member states in the first 3 months of the year, citing production problems for the shortfall. Hundreds of mourners in Myanmar have attended a funeral for a 25-year-old protester killed on Wednesday, the bloodiest day of anti-coup protests so far. His funeral came as activists held more demonstrations in several towns and cities. On Thursday and Friday, police broke up rallies with tear gas and gunfire in several cities, but their crackdown was more restrained than on Wednesday, when the United Nations said 38 people were killed. President Jair Bolsonaro has told Brazilians to stop whining about COVID-19 as he criticised measures to curb the virus despite a surge in cases and deaths.
20 milhões de doses disponíveis.
His comments came a day after Brazil saw a record rise in deaths over a 24-hour period. Brazil is facing its worst phase of the pandemic yet, leaving its health system in crisis. Brazil's health ministry says more than 260,000 people have died with COVID-19, the second highest pandemic death toll in the world after the US. The explosion of cases has been attributed to the spread of a highly contagious variant of the virus, thought to have originated in the Amazon city of Manaus. Cuba has begun late-stage trials of its most advanced experimental COVID-19 vaccine, edging closer to a potential homegrown inoculation that could help the country recover from the virus. The country has started recruiting around 44,000 volunteers in the capital, Havana, between the ages of 19 and 80 for its randomized placebo-controlled trial of the two-shot vaccine. If it proves successful, Cuba has said it will inoculate its entire population of 11 million with what would be the first COVID-19 vaccine developed and produced in Latin America. Access to Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp and Telegram has been restored in Senegal following several hours of partial restrictions on Friday morning. It comes as protests against the arrest of a popular opposition figure, Ousmane Sonko, entered their third day in the capital Dakar. Police opposed protesters in the University of Dakar, where clashes lasted for hours. Some amazing footage now of a freight train which derailed spectacularly in Southern California, causing its carriages to pile up on top of each other. Drone footage shows the wagons piled up across the tracks. An estimated 25 to 35 carriages derailed, some carrying hazardous materials that were later mitigated. There were no injuries. The cause of the crash is under investigation. And finally, to an exhibition with a difference. Photographer Viktor Laigushkin and artist Denis Lotarev have brought their paintings, pictures and sculptures under the frozen waters of the White Sea. It means to see it, visitors have to don a diving suit and breathing apparatus as well as braving freezing temperatures. Mr. Laigushkin says the creatures and plants he captures may become extinct in the near future due to climate change, and those photos could be the last images of them. The art will stay on display until mid-April, when the ice then starts to melt. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.